Jimmy tried to dismiss him with sarcastic remarks and smug laughter, but Elon remained calm. After being kicked off, he responded in a way that stopped the entire nation in its tracks. What was supposed to be a casual Thursday evening in Los Angeles took an unexpected turn. The audience at Jimmy Kimmel Live was settled, still laughing from the earlier monologue, and the usual late-night ambiance filled the room. But when Elon Musk stepped onto the stage, everything shifted. He wasn't dressed to impress, just a dark jacket, a sharp black tie, and his usual composed demeanor, like armor. The applause was loud, with a few cheers ringing out louder than others, though there was a sense of tension beneath it all. Elon smiled briefly, nodded at Jimmy, and took his seat. The conversation started off like any other. Jimmy welcomed him, throwing in a light jab about SpaceX's delays, and Elon chuckled. But something was off. "So, Elon," Kimmel started, flipping through his note cards with a grin that never quite reached his eyes, "how does it feel to own a platform where conspiracy theories and memes are the main currencies?" The audience laughed, but Elon didn't. "I think people are tired of curated narratives," Elon responded calmly. "They want truth even if it's messy, and I'm okay with messy." Kimmel leaned in. Sure, but you've got people saying all sorts of wild things on X. Don't you worry you're giving them a megaphone?" Elon tilted his head. "I'm more concerned about the people who think certain voices shouldn't be heard." A brief pause. It wasn't dramatic music or flashing lights, but the tension in the air was palpable. Kimmel blinked, trying to change the subject, but instead of easing the tension, he pressed harder. "Come on, man," he said with mock sincerity. "You've been towing every political line out there. It's like you want to be everyone's savior and no one's ally." That stung, not just for Elon, but for everyone in the room. His smile faded, but he didn't raise his voice. He just stared at Kimmel, a moment of silence that felt too long. "I came here to talk about technology, to maybe share a few things I've never said before. But if you want to talk politics, let's not pretend you're neutral." You could feel the shift. A few people clapped. Others were unsure how to respond. Jimmy shrugged. "Hey, I'm just asking questions. And it's mine to answer honestly," Elon replied, still calm. "But let's not pretend this is a conversation when it's clearly an ambush." A murmur rippled through the audience. Kimmel's grin vanished. For a brief moment, he looked genuinely rattled. "Well," he said, standing abruptly, "if this isn't the interview you expected, you're free to leave." The production crew hesitated. Elon didn't move. "That's the thing," Elon replied, finally standing. "I expected more from you, from this platform." Security approached, not aggressively, just awkwardly. A stage manager whispered something to Elon. He nodded tiredly and stepped off the stage. The cameras cut back to Jimmy, who nervously laughed, glanced at the audience, and said, "Well, that escalated." But it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like something had cracked. Behind the scenes, away from the spotlight, things were already unfolding. The moment Elon walked off stage, the energy in the hallway shifted. It was colder, quieter. No cameras, no cheering. Just palpable tension. A young assistant with a headset tried to guide him toward a side exit, but Elon didn't follow. "Where's Kimmel?" he asked, his tone sharp, not angry but direct. The assistant hesitated. Probably in his dressing room," they said. "You should—" "I didn't ask what they said. I asked where he is." Some crew members stopped moving. Elon turned a corner, and before anyone could stop him, a security guard caught up as Jimmy stepped out of the green room, rubbing his neck, clearly trying to figure out how to spin what had just happened. He wasn't expecting to see Elon again so soon. "What now?" Jimmy sighed, arms crossed. Elon stood his ground, not stepping closer. "You invited me onto your show. You made it about your narrative. Then you cut me off. Just admit it." Jimmy let out a hollow laugh. "Oh, please don't play the victim. You've got your billions and your fans. What's there to be upset about?" "It's not about me," Elon said quietly. "It's about what you tried to turn this into. You don't want a conversation, you want control. That hit hard. A nearby crew member, trying to be discreet, caught the moment on their phone. Not intentionally at first, but recording just in case something serious happened. The conversation wasn't loud or aggressive. It was revealing. "You want to talk? About free speech?" Jimmy shot back. "But you've created chaos. That's not freedom, it's just noise." "No," Elon responded firmly. "Noise is when you silence one side and call it balance." They stood there, not speaking for a few seconds. The lights buzzed overhead, the tension lingering, but not in a violent way. Just real. One man backed by Hollywood, the other by something far harder to control. Elon looked around at the crew. "You can clip this, you can twist it, or maybe for once you can let people hear it as it happened." With that, he turned and walked out. No microphone, no cameras, just the sound of the exit door swinging shut behind him. But hours later, just past midnight, someone uploaded a 90-second video to X. No graphics, no captions, just raw footage of Elon standing in the hallway, calling out the hypocrisy, maintaining his composure, speaking like a man who didn't need a stage to be heard. At first, it had only a few thousand views. By morning, it was over 5 million. By noon, it was everywhere. News sites ran conflicting headlines. Elon melts down after Kimmel appearance versus uncut Elon footage sparks free speech debate. But viewers weren't fooled. They saw the original clip. They saw Elon remain calm, watched Kimmel squirm, and realized the confrontation wasn't about ego. It was about something bigger, about truth, control, and the cracks in the walls we were told to trust. But the real storm hadn't even begun, because what the public did with that clip would blindside everyone. By the time coffee shops opened in Portland and gas stations lit up across Ohio, everyone had seen it, Elon's quiet takedown. That unedited, shaky Backstage clip spread farther in 6 hours than any official broadcast could have hoped. People weren't just watching, they were reacting, and not mildly. On X, the reactions were electric. "Stand with Elon" began trending first. It wasn't just tech enthusiasts and Tesla fans. It was teachers, veterans, moms from Kansas, small-town mayors, people from all walks of life quoting his words. "You don't want conversation, you want control." That sentence became an anthem overnight. Of course, not everyone agreed. Hack Kimmel and Elon Musk meltdown trended too. Some claimed Elon was manipulating the narrative, trying to play the hero. Others said it was just another billionaire complaining about criticism. But something felt different this time. This wasn't a carefully planned PR stunt. No press releases, no flashy Elon statements. He didn't even tweet for 12 hours. And in that silence, the public filled the gap. Clips of the show, backstage footage, and people's own video reactions flooded every platform. TikToks broke it down frame by frame. Reddit threads analyzed Kimmel's expressions. Instagram stories showed side-by-side comparisons of the broadcast and what really happened. Then came the big players. Dr. Leonora Hastings, a respected professor of media ethics, posted a thread condemning Kimmel's actions as a calculated misuse of influence and warning that if late-night hosts became political executioners, we lose the point of public discourse. Others joined in. Comedian Daryl Nye tweeted, "I've joked about Musk before, but man, Kimmel tried to turn him into a punchline and got flattened by facts." Meanwhile, Jimmy stayed quiet. No tweets, no statement, nothing. ABC's PR team issued a generic comment saying the segment ended early due to time constraints. No one bought it. Even TMZ called it the worst cover-up since a celebrity birthday fight. And then came a new wave, people who had felt silenced for years. Small creators, independent journalists, scientists blacklisted for controversial findings, reposting Elon's clip, sharing their voices. The question wasn't, do you agree with Elon Musk? It was, what does it say about us if this kind of conversation isn't allowed? The conversation had cracked open something deeper, frustration, fatigue, and the sense that those behind the cameras were filtering too much, policing not just opinions, but who's allowed to speak. Then Elon broke his silence. A single post. No caption, Just a screen grab from the video where he says, "Let people hear it as it happened." 35 million views in under 2 hours. But the story didn't stop there. While the internet debated and the media scrambled to shape their angles, Elon was planning something bigger, something that would make the Backstage clip feel like a warm-up. But before he went live, he made one call to someone no one expected, and it changed everything. The comment section lit up. People began sharing personal experiences of censorship, ridicule, and misunderstanding, some large, some small, but all significant to those who shared them. Each story was a piece of a much larger narrative, and as they built upon each other, they quickly became a movement within the live stream itself. It was as if a wall of suppressed voices was slowly starting to crumble. Then, out of nowhere, the screen split. A familiar face appeared in the corner, a journalist who had quietly been making a name for herself, Aria Salter, an independent media analyst from Tulsa, Oklahoma. "Elon," she said, "I've been following what's been happening. I think we're on the brink of something much bigger than a single moment. This is the start of a shift. If we can speak freely without filters, what does that mean for platforms like yours or mine?" Elon paused, looking at her and then the camera. "It means they'll try to shut us down, but it also means we have to build something new." By the time the stream ended nearly 2 hours later, more than 23 million people had tuned in at some point. No ads, no fancy editing, just real people talking. And the impact of the stream wasn't going to stop online. Hollywood, however, was paying attention, and they weren't pleased. The morning after Elon's live stream, the entertainment industry was buzzing like an agitated hive. Inside studios from Burbank to Culver City, meetings were held, emails exchanged, and phone calls made. It wasn't just that Elon had gone off script. It was that millions had watched, stayed engaged, and heard what he had to say. And that, in Hollywood's eyes, was a problem. Control was slipping away. The first attempt at damage control came in the form of a flurry of op-eds. They labeled Elon's stream reckless, a breeding ground for misinformation, and a threat to public trust. National morning shows echoed the same talking points. The messaging was too coordinated to be a coincidence, but it didn't stop there. In Santa Clara, a freelance producer leaked screenshots of internal ABC emails discussing whether to remove all clips involving Elon from their online platforms. Everything, not just the Kimmel segment. It was clear they were trying to erase the moment entirely. People noticed. And then the sponsors started pulling back. Within 48 hours, 3 major advertisers had quietly pulled their contracts from Jimmy Kimmel Live. One of them, a prominent insurance company based in Des Moines, issued a simple statement: "We support dialogue, not censorship." Kimmel eventually broke his silence the following evening, opening his show with a forced laugh and a new round of jokes aimed at Elon. "So apparently free speech now means billionaires yell at you for not liking their tweets?" He smirked, trying to regain control of the narrative. But the audience wasn't laughing the same way. Not this time. Online, clips of his monologue were met with thousands of comments questioning the sincerity behind the jokes. "Where's the joke?" one user posted. "All I see is damage control." Meanwhile, Elon remained quiet. No tweets, no public statements. Instead, other voices began to rise. Aria Salter, the independent journalist from the stream, saw her following triple in just a few days. She was invited onto podcasts, live panels, and streams, not by networks but by people eager for raw, unfiltered conversation, and she wasn't alone. Many independent voices saw a surge in attention. Platforms like Rumble and Locals experienced a surge in sign-ups as viewers flocked to places where speech wasn't subject to the same filters. Behind the scenes, some insiders in Hollywood began speaking out anonymously. One veteran writer's assistant from a popular streaming show shared a post that went viral, stating, "It's not about liking Elon or agreeing with him. It's about the fact that someone finally called out how controlled everything is behind the scenes. If someone like him can get shut down mid-interview, what chance do the rest of us have?" The post exploded. And the final blow came from a former ABC executive, who took to LinkedIn with a damning thread. She detailed how producers were encouraged to steer interviews away from certain opinions, implying that if you didn't stick to the script, you were quickly sidelined. "It's not censorship in the traditional sense," she wrote, "but it's a script, and if you don't stick to it, you disappear within hours." Her post was picked up by The Hill, The Daily Caller, and even TechCrunch. The cracks in the facade were too obvious to ignore. Hollywood was good at taking a joke, but it wasn't so good at taking a hard look in the mirror. While Hollywood scrambled to restore order, Elon was quietly planning something new. Something nobody saw coming. 5 days after his live stream, Elon appeared again, not in front of a camera but in a small conference room in Austin, Texas. No fanfare, no big announcement, just a tweet that simply read, "If the old platforms won't support real dialogue, we'll build our own." At first, most people thought it was just another metaphor. But within hours, rumors started circulating from inside Tesla and X offices. Elon had quietly assembled a task force: engineers, media experts, former journalists, people who were tired of gatekeeping and ready to do something different. By day 7, it had a name: Open Frame. Not a platform, a framework, a set of tools that would allow creators, journalists, and everyday people to broadcast real conversations, unfiltered, unedited, and unmanipulated. Raw chronological reach. Speak and people hear you. Or not. Simple. The skeptics dismissed it. "Another app," they said. "This will crash just like Truth Social or Parler." But they underestimated the moment. This wasn't about political sides or tech cultures. It was about something more fundamental: people versus filters, authenticity versus manipulation, and Elon didn't try to sell it. He just let it grow. When Open Frame launched, Aria Salter was the first to go live. No script, no makeup. Just her phone and a story about how she had once been told to strip emotion out of her reporting because it made people uncomfortable. Within minutes, 600,000 people were watching. Next, Dr. Rivera, the former policy advisor, streamed a 2-hour session answering questions about digital censorship and the erosion of public debate. Then came Christopher Darnell, showing how companies tried to steer AI development away from unpopular conclusions even when they were true. Each stream was different, but they all had one thing in common. Nothing was cut, nothing was padded. It was raw. It was real. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel Live experienced its worst ratings in over 8 years. Advertisers were on edge. Segments felt thin and forced. Audiences didn't react the same way. The energy on set had shifted. The machine had taken a hit. But Elon wasn't gloating. He didn't mention Kimmel. Not once. His silence spoke louder than any interview could. Instead, he posted a simple line on X, pinned to the top of his profile. "You can silence the mic, but not the message." It caught fire. Thousands reposted it. Artists turned it into posters. High school students printed it on t-shirts. College debate teams started meetings with it. Some saw Elon as a symbol. Others criticized him, claiming he was using chaos to build more power. But regardless of opinion, the same thing kept happening. People were watching. They were listening. They were talking. In Nashville, a retired librarian started a weekly stream on Open Frame, reading banned books aloud and explaining their significance. In Fresno, a former union rep launched conversations with workers who felt ignored by both political parties. In Springfield, Missouri, a single father began a stream to discuss mental health with strangers who needed someone to talk to. This wasn't viral hype anymore. It was genuine traction. People weren't being told what to think. They were thinking for themselves out loud together. In that noisy, messy, awkward space, something real began to emerge. As the days passed, Jimmy Kimmel Live went on a planned hiatus. But inside the studio, the mood had changed. Writers whispered about growing tensions. Executives pushed for lighter segments. But the public wasn't paying attention to late-night jokes anymore. They were watching something else rise. In under 3 weeks, Open Frame had over 10 million active users. Not just in the US, but in Germany, Brazil, South Africa, and South Korea. Conversations were happening in real time, without middlemen, across borders, and in multiple languages. The platform didn't promise truth, nor did it claim to solve the world's problems. It simply gave the mic back. And for most, that was enough. Elon still hadn't done another sit-down interview. No press tour, no book launch. Just silence, with the occasional post reminding people to think for themselves. Then one night, without warning, he went live again. He sat in front of the same bookshelf, wearing the same black t-shirt. The room was quiet except for the faint sound of traffic. Outside, "I'm not here to be right," he said. "I'm here because I'm tired of people pretending they know what's best for everyone else. Tired of shows that say they want honesty but can't handle a real answer, and tired of pretending speech is free when it only flows one way." He paused, leaned forward slightly, and looked straight into the lens. "I'm not a hero, I'm not perfect, but I'm not scared to speak, and neither should you be. No fireworks, no outro music, just a clean cut to black. That moment, the one where a man simply refused to beg for the right to speak, spread faster than any trending hashtag. It played in classrooms, churches, barbershops, and group chats. Not because Elon was flawless, but because he was flawed, and yet still willing to stand. For some, it was a reminder to ask tough questions. For others, it was about courage, walking away from an uncomfortable situation, even if it meant standing alone. And for most, it was a reminder that when someone tries to silence you, the only thing left to do is speak louder. We live in a world where the loudest voices aren't always the most truthful, where performance is rewarded and quiet thoughtfulness is buried. But what happened with Elon, with Jimmy, with millions of people watching, reminded us that real conversation isn't always safe. It's messy, it's awkward, but it's also the only way forward. And maybe the best way to fix the world is to talk like we can fix it, if